like, oh shit, I let the cat out and I didn't mean to, right? So then they let the cat in, relocked the door, left. A homeowner came home. The house was destroyed. It wasn't their cat.
Oh my God. Welcome to another episode of Here We Grow. Today, I'm Pat Nadeau, and today I'm very excited to have my good friend Michelle Ellis on. So where do we start? I guess we should start with your story of kind of how you got into real estate.
Okay.
And I know that I would say the things that I've kind of learned about you are one, it's like one of the most important things I think that a realtor can have is work ethic. Mm-hmm. And you have no shortage of that. And then I think the other thing is being teachable. And like, we'll talk about this in a bit, I'm sure, but you're somebody who believes in coaching. You know, you implement, which is the other part of that, right? Is like, I always talk about, literally it's been like 100% of the podcast I've talked about the events that we go to.
Amazing.
And how important they are, right?
Yeah.
But I think that like, it's one thing to go to an event and get all hyped up. It's another thing when you come home, what do you actually do? Like, do you actually implement what you're learning? So, and you're somebody who does that. So,
yeah.
So we'll talk about that in a bit, but talk about how you got into real estate and kind of like your first,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially, I mean, I at 18 really wanted to get into real estate, and I had a realtor say, you know, you're way too young and you have no money, so you're never going to make it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll go to, you know, plan B. And so I went to college at Fleming in Peterborough for police foundations, graduated in a couple of years with that, and quickly decided that that was not for me, but did utilize that diploma, did some security work, and then eventually just decided, you know what, like, I was a single mom at the time, so I had no money, I didn't own a credit card, I had like $47 to my name, and I got this blessing where I was applying for a real estate job because I was like, I need to get into real estate in some way, shape, or form. I just need to get myself in there. I'll just be an admin or do something. Right. So there was an ad on Kijiji, applied for it, had an interview. The interview lasted 3 hours, and I said to her, like, I would really just love the opportunity to, you know, get my foot in the door. This is something that I would really love to be part of long term. And I said, but there's like, I just need to get started. And she was like, you know what, there's something about you that makes me believe that you are meant for this. She's like, I don't really think you're administrative materials by what I've learned about you. So she said, how about this? She goes, I've never done this for anybody before. And she's like, I'm going to help you get through your courses. You can pay me back when you sell your first few houses. Wow. And I was like, that still gives me goosebumps. And so I was like, wow, okay, like this is an opportunity of a lifetime. And so I took it, I ran, I was driving a school bus. I was doing a whole bunch of different jobs at the time just to get by. And I actually didn't even tell my family because I was like, I am just gonna do this and I'm gonna surprise the shit out of everybody. And I'm just gonna prove everybody that I can do it. So so I did my courses. I started selling, and I stopped driving a school bus, and I was like, because obviously when you're driving a school bus, it takes in the morning and the afternoon. And I was like, this is not going to work. So I was like, I'm just going to take a chance. Somebody in our office at the time, Heather Plain, she's amazing, human being. She put a Post-it note. I have a picture of it on my phone still. This was 8 years ago. She put a Post-it note on my desk, and it said, you are going to go far. And I don't know, it just something clicked in me where I was like, man, if this woman believes in me and she hardly knows me, then I can maybe do this. I don't know. We'll see. And the rest is really history.
And you did it, yeah.
8 years later, and it's been a very fun journey so far, and super blessed to be part of this group and super excited.
That's crazy. Like, I feel like it's so important to, you know, you are who you surround yourself with, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like, now I feel like we're so lucky, and you know, at AXB and stuff to have who we have around us. When we had our own independent brokers before, I would have never got to sit in a room with people like you. Right. So that's really cool that right off the hop, you had people that supported you that much.
Didn't even know me.
Yeah.
Like, didn't even really know who I was, but were very motivating and encouraging.
I definitely think like some people have the X factor though, and like I think that comes always back to work ethic though.
Yeah.
What like so the one part you said at the beginning was you were 18 years old when you were thinking about.
Yep.
What makes you think about real estate at 18? That just seems like crazy to me.
Yeah, I would always I was never interested in the news, but the newspaper, as soon as it would come in the door, I would be looking through the houses.
Right.
Like I'd be looking through and looking at them, and I was just fascinated by houses. I don't know. I can't really explain it other than. And then I remember too, when you're in public school and they tell you about all these different jobs. And I remember thinking to myself, it would be really cool to be a buyer for a store so that you can actually stock the store with all their products. And then it just kind of conspired into what if I could transform people's lives instead?
Right.
That's way more meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely. So being that excited from a young age, finally getting into the business, and working your tail off. I think that everybody gets excited when they get their real estate license, and then over the first couple of months to years, you're like, holy shit, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
So when we talked yesterday, I was like, one of the things I like to do on the show is talk about the craziest shit that we've seen, or the wildest stories, because we get put in situations sometimes where you're like, man, I did not sign up for this, right? So over those first couple of years, or recently or whatever, has there been something where you're like, damn, this is not what I thought being a realtor would be like?
There's never a dull moment in our job. There's never the same day twice, which is something that I really love about this industry. A couple of things come in mind. I think I was telling you about, I was showing a property one time and, looking around, it said 2 bathrooms, and I'm thinking we have only seen one. I opened up the closet door and there was literally a toilet in the closet. Right. And I'm like, are you for real right now? I actually sat on the toilet because I was like, can you even fit in here?
I'm just thinking, was this relatively recently or no?
No.
I actually literally, so there's one in, it was in Verona recently, and the same thing. Actually, yeah, there was it was the weirdest layout I've ever been in. One of those old houses where it just kept going. Yeah. There was I swear to God, a closet door, and you go through the closet door, you turn right, and then you're in another kitchen. Yeah. And then there was hallway to hallway to hallway. Yeah. But so there was a kitchen and then an open almost living room, but it was kind of a bedroom because it was a separate unit. And the right side, there was a very clear bathroom door, and there was a shower and a sink. And then I was like, okay, no toilet, weird. And then I remember looking around, and there was literally a bifold door that I opened. And I remember looking at the bathroom and being like, it's got to be somewhere. Yeah. And then I'm like, there's no way. I look across, so it was the other side of the bedroom, and then it was a bifold door, which I thought, if you're using the toilet, weird. You might want to lock the door. Yeah. I guess that's not happening for you. But yeah, same thing.
That's so weird. I actually have seen also, you reminded me, a tub in a hallway. Really? I mean, the house was needed weird. To be torn down, but I don't know if it was this makeshift DIY project or what. But I don't know if you've had these instances where you become this animal catcher. Because when they say in the listing do not let the cat out, yes, and you're like, okay, no problem, and the cat's literally on the other side smelling you, going oh, I'm getting out of this house,
this is my chance,
no big deal. And yeah, I have chased a few cats, no dogs, but cats I have
so
had to chase.
I had damn cats. And you can see, yeah, exactly, you can tell you're opening the door, there's a sign, or the realtors let you know, and you're looking, and that cat is this is my big chance. I'm making it out. Yeah. So we had an open house one time, and I didn't know the client. It was another realtor from our team's client, and the realtor's yeah, she's got 6 cats or something, and she's gonna get rid of them for the open house. She won't have them around. And I walked in, and all 6 cats were still there. And he was very specific. These are not outdoor cats. They will try to get out, and you can't let them out. And I'm like, buddy, it's an open house. What am I supposed to do? People are going to be rolling in and out of the door all day. And so sure enough, I'm watching the door like a hawk. All the cats start moving towards the back of the house. So I'm thinking I might be good. And then all of a sudden this one lady comes in and leaves the door wide open. And I'm talking to another client, and I just hear a shriek from behind me. And I'm like, oh no. And I see the cat going out the door. And then cue like me and this random lady, like me in my suit and this random lady like hauling ass down the street after this cat. And I swear to God, this like she wasn't like an older lady, like mid-aged, whatever. She did like an actual football tackle where she dove and laid out on somebody's front lawn and grabbed this cat and then brought it back.
So
and I was like, thank God, because like, what do? You lose somebody's cat. Like, that's actually one of my biggest fears.
Oh, I have another really funny cat story. So I can't remember if it wasn't my listing. I can't remember the scenario, but anyways, so it said, don't let the cat out. And then there was a cat outside and they were like, oh shit, I let the cat out and I didn't mean to, right? So then they let the cat in, relocked the door, left. A homeowner came home. The house was destroyed. It wasn't their cat.
Oh my God.
It had destroyed the house, like trying to get out, going fucking wild. Could you imagine? Like, first of all, coming home and somebody else's cat being in your house, but then your house...
so you did that? You let the cat in when you
No,
were entering?
it wasn't me. I think it was somebody on my team. I can't remember who it was.
I'm just thinking, I wonder if it was me because I did that.
Did you? Was it? Okay, maybe it was you. Was it?
If it was one of your guys' listings, I just remember like this cat was like the middle of February and this poor cat is sitting at the door and he's just like freezing. And I'm like, oh my God, like we need to let this cat in. And then I let him in and like not even like 30 minutes later, I was down the road and the realtor called me and was like, did you let the cat in, like a cat inside the house? And I was like, yeah, like he was freezing. It's the middle of February. They're like, well, it wasn't their cat.
Oh yes, it had to have been you then. Somebody. I was like, oh man,
so
that's
good.
Hilarious.
It's funny because like so early, like the very first few episodes on this, we talked about, it was like 3 episodes in a row we talked about snakes.
Oh.
Because you were saying like I was talking to you about like craziest stuff that's happened. The craziest thing still to this day that's happened in my real estate career is I found like we had like a literal python in the basement this year. It was like loose and it was crazy. But so we talked about that, and then there was another like a snake breeder at one of the houses. There was like a couple episodes in a row, and now last week I was talking about cats, and now we're talking about cats again because I had a listing presentation one time where I was like doing my real like pitch. And this guy's cat was like walking across my pitch, and then it jumped like on the listing presentation, and then it jumped on my shoulder, but it wouldn't get off my shoulder. And the guy was doing nothing. He's like, anyway, so you were saying about like your marketing package. Yes, go on. And I'm like, man, like
your cat is on my
and
shoulder.
I'm like trying to do this thing. Eventually I just gave up and was like, I guess I'm just doing the rest of this listing presentation with this cat here.
And the cat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
That's gold. So what else you got? Anything else you can think of?
I did have somebody like scream bloody murder. They went down into the basement before I did.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I was like, oh shit, like what the hell? And it was a big, huge bear.
Oh.
But it scared the shit out of her. I was like, it's dead. Like, it's not real. Like, it's on the floor.
We had that recently at the, I don't know if you, like, this is Michelle's first time at the office, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we just sold, so Susan Sobransky from the office sold a big listing recently. And in the listing photos, there's this huge wolf on the wall. And I was like texting her. I was like, that's so cool, whatever. And then she said, do you want it? And I was like, hell yeah, I want it. Like, what? And so sure enough, they sell the house. And like a couple of days later, Joey Mosier, who works with her, comes in the office and he's holding this like huge wolf skin.
Wow.
And so we still haven't got it on the wall because of the way you have to mount it. It needs like 1,000,000 staples to get on. So we're putting it in the office.
Oh, nice. Cool.
But the cleaner, I see the cleaner like a week later. And so he came in on a Friday. I put it on the desk, thought nothing of it, left. And the cleaner sees me the next week and she's like, are you crazy? What is that thing? And I was like, well, like it's a wolf, like it's going on the wall. And she's like, well, I didn't know it was in here. I came in here late at night and all the lights were off.
Oh, that would freak me out.
And she opens the door and she said literally like on the desk is just like 2 eyes looking back at her. She says she almost ran out of the office.
That's when you wish you had a camera in your office for the reaction?
Yes, that would be golden. So I'm trying to think of what else I got. This year I was in a barn. We're showing the barn and like we're going up some pretty rickety stairs. And I was like, and this isn't the first time it's happened, but it was just like the biggest scale I've ever seen. So they're walking up and I was like, okay, like I'm always thinking like, are we going to fall through? Right.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden I hear a gasp from the top of the stairs because my clients are ahead of me and she's like, and I'm like, oh no, please don't be falling through. Like what's going on? Like that split second. And she's like, she kind of like catches her breath and she's like, well, that's a lot of drugs. And so this guy had like, I don't even know, like, so the barn was probably, I don't know, 80 feet long by 30 feet wide. And the entire upstairs of this barn was weed plants hanging upside down.
Oh, shit.
So I was like, and then I knew the listing agent. I text her after. I was like, you might want to give me a heads up that like that was what was going on in the garage. And she's like, or in the barn. And she's like, I had no idea. I'm like, okay, well, that's going to be negotiated in the chattels later.
Yeah, right? That's hilarious.
So, okay. So, this is a question that I really like to ask. I think it's the best question to ask any realtor because every realtor has a very different answer. So it's, what do you think makes a good realtor? And I talked about a couple of reasons. I feel like you might lean towards the, at the beginning, but like, what do you think it takes to be successful in this industry and, deliver your clients the best service?
Right. So this is super easy for me is authenticity. And like, you just have to be yourself. And I think that if you end up trying to be somebody you're not, you are going to fail miserably. You're not going to attract the right clients. You're going to attract all the people that you friggin' hate working with. And it's just going to be miserable all the time. So, I mean, you wake up and you dress like a friggin' billionaire, you. And I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, like I have to put on a blazer today because I'm on a podcast. But I have to, like, I'm okay with that. I wear ripped jeans and I didn't wear my flip-flops today, but I'm almost on the cusp of having to put them away.
Right.
But like just being yourself, I think is key, because the people who are going to be attracted to you are going to be the people who you really, really enjoy working with and who, appreciate you. There's a lot of different people that we come into contact with. And I mean, if you're desperate and you just want to work with everybody, that's totally fine. But in this business and industry, we can choose who we work with. So it's nice to be able to choose to work with people who you jive with. And I mean, I like being myself, and I think that people will truly like be able to see through that. Like if I showed up in a suit with stilettos and my hair and makeup all done, you'd be like, that's not really her, but that's cool. Right. Like I think just being yourself is super important. And I think that it'll put off a vibe that people will appreciate.
I think that it's important to stay you need to be consistent with your brand almost, from like authentic is it sounds more like, personal, but I think it's like, it's your brand, right?
Yeah,
so people need to
is.
know who you are. And, Gogo Becky at one of the, EXP conferences was saying like, whatever your brand is, you need to stick to it. If you are the guy in the suit, then wear the suit. And it's almost like you're like, when people see you, they need to recognize you, right? And being who you are, I think is definitely important. But the other thing you said, which is really cool, and I feel like 90% of realtors make this mistake, is the fact that you do have the option to choose who you work with.
Yeah.
I'm a culprit of it. I'm sure you've made those mistakes in the past before, especially in your early years.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do because there's a lot of money on the line.
Yep.
And it's very easy to convince yourself, like, I need to do this. I can tell this client is going to be, difficult to work with, or, it's going to be a difficult transaction and I might not be able to make them happy. But here's the payout at the end if I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, do you find that you've been doing that from day one, or is that something that you learned?
It's something that I learned. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people that I was like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Like, and the great thing about being part of this community is that, someone that's super, not high class, but like really picky and like, I don't know how to explain it, but if I can't work with them, then I could be like, hey, you know what? Pat might be a really good fit for you. Like, personality wise, I think he could, really and make you happy or whatever.
The nicest way of being like, I ain't dealing with your shit.
Yeah, right. But there's been times where I've been like, hey, to some of the people on our team, it's like, hey, I've got this buyer or I've got this seller and it's just not going to work between us. If you guys want, to take your try at it or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You can deal with the headache. Yeah. Good luck. Okay, so we got like 60 seconds left, but I want to throw this one other question at you. And it's just one I thought of right now. So if you were to start all over again and, go back to nothing, you didn't have your sphere of influence, you didn't have your money, whatever.
Yep.
what are the first couple of things that you've been doing that you would do to ensure your success in those first few years as an agent? Because we have a bunch of new agents on.
Yeah.
They're asking me this question a lot, and I feel like you'd be a good person to.
Coaching, number one. I was 1 foot out the door 3 years in, because I was like, I remember being in the back of a car doing an agent tour, crying, going like, I don't think I'm going to be able to pay my bills this month. And so I lost my train of thought. So coaching, once I started coaching, I tripled my business. Mm-hmm. So if I knew that right off the start, I would have started coaching right from the beginning. And just knowing that you want to add value to people. You want to transform their life. It can't be about the transaction, and it can't be about the money. It mm-hmm. has to be about them. And mm-hmm. it has to be, what can I do for you? Because if I do something for you, I know it's going to come back tenfold for me later on in life.
It's a service industry. I feel mm-hmm. like it's never been more important to, in today's world with the technology and the stuff that we have, it's never been more important to show service. So.
And I think people too, like our consumers, can smell that from a mile away.
Commission breath?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun. I feel like we got some good info and some good stories too. Yeah. Some more cats again.
I can't believe it was your story.
That's amazing. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and we'll do this again. Thank you for having me. Hopefully,
I'll have you on mine.
There you go.
Cool.
And okay, so let's shout that out real quickly. Yeah. So if anybody wants to find you, what's the easiest ways to find you? Social media, and what's the new podcast?
At the Most Referred Realtor. That's Instagram and Facebook.
The best Instagram handle ever.
Right. And a podcast is going to be Failing Forward with me and Redefining Real Estate.
You're good at names.
Right? Creative.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank
you. And
you.
Until next time, here we grow.